Lesson 11-9, Scale Drawings and Maps. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to use proportions to solve problems involving scale, drawings, and maps. Make sure you have your pencil and paper ready so you can work out problems right along with me. A scale drawing is a drawing of a real object but is smaller than or a reduction of or larger than, like an enlargement of, the object. Measures of a scale drawing are proportional to the measurements of the real object. So here we have a picture of a tennis court. This would be an example of a reduction of an object that we want to measure and see the dimensions of. Sometimes we could have a picture of a cell, and that would be an enlargement of, and then we could use the measurements there. So we use a scale, which is a ratio of the scale drawing to the actual measure. The scale here shows us that 1 inch on this actually equals 32 feet. So when we measure 1 inch along here, it would be 32 feet long. So that proportion would look like this. 1 inch equals 32 feet. So this is the measurement in the drawing, and this would be the actual measure. So if we were to measure this tennis court and find that it actually equals 2 7/16 inches, what would the actual length of the tennis court be? So to find that actual length, we would need to write a proportion and use the cross products rule to solve. So it would be the scale measure over actual measure, which would equal, we know the length. So it would be the scale length over the actual length. So that is 1 inch is the scale, the actual length is for every 32 feet. So if we know that it's 2 7/16 inches on the scale, how many actual feet would that be? So here's our proportion right here that we're going to need to figure out. So I've rewritten that here. And so now all that we need to do is we would multiply here and then here. So we have 1 times n equals 32 times 2 7/16. So we know that 1 times n, that's going to just equal n, which equals, then we have this proportion over here. So we have 32, I'm going to do that work right here, 32 times, that would be over 1, then I turn this 2 7/16 into an improper fraction, and that's 39 over 16. So I can do some cross canceling here. 16 goes into itself 1 time, and it goes into 32 2 times. So 2 times 39 equals 78. So n equals 78. So the actual length of this tennis court would be 78 feet. Remember, the proportion equals the scale measure over the actual measure. So here is our scale measure. 1 inch to 10 feet equals 10 feet. So if we have something that we can measure on a scale as 1.5 inches, what would the actual feet be? I want you to try to figure this out and then come back and check with me. All right, so here I'm going to cross multiply my 1 inch times x equals 10 feet times 1.5 inches. And now I've rewritten it simplified. 1x equals 10 over 1 times 3 over 2. I've turned that into a mixed number. And then I can do some cross canceling here. So now I have 1x equals 15 over 1. So x equals 15. All right, I hope that's what you were able to get as well. Make sure you rewatch any part of today's video before heading off to do today's assignment.